That's what we call Christopher Schurr.
And sir, before you proceed, if you can raise your right hand, my clerk will swear you in.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lodge.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Will you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Christopher Schurr, Schurr.
Let me just start out. Do you enjoy speaking in public?
Not particularly, no.
And throughout your life, is that something you don't particularly care for?
I'd say public speaking wasn't one of my strengths, no.
Now, you understand you have a right not to testify.
I do.
Why are you testifying?
I feel like it's important to get my side of the story out.
Now, we're going to go into several topics, obviously related to this case here, but just backing up a little bit in regards to your background and education. How old are you?
Currently 34,
How old were you in April of 2022?
31,
Where were you born?
Grand Rapids,
And where were you raised?
southeast side of Grand Rapids.
Do your parents reside in West Michigan here?
They do.
Are they in court here today?
Yeah.
Do you have any siblings?
Yes.
Are they also present in court?
Yes.
Are you married?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
10 years.
And where did you meet your wife?
High school.
So-
Button Center. Yeah.
Have you been together since high school?
Yes.
So essentially high school sweethearts?
Yes.
Now, where were you and your wife married?
We were married in Kenya.
And what brought you to Kenya?
We were there on a mission trip
I
a
guess
couple
we have
years.
to object. We're getting a little bit far afield, Your Honor, in terms of who cares where they're married.
I think it goes to some of his experiences in life, Your Honor. I think it's relevant.
I'll sustain the objection because I do believe that particular question is just going a little bit deeper than relevant.
Now, does your wife work?
Yes.
What field does she work in?
Mental health.
And you yourself, did you go into public service as a police officer?
I did.
Fair to say both you and your wife went into fields to help others.
Yes.
Did you attend high school here in West Michigan?
Yes.
And did you graduate high school?
I did.
After high school, what did you do?
I went to college at Siena Heights University.
Did you graduate college?
I did.
What year would that have been, approximately?
2014.
What was your major or focused area of study in college?
I majored in business with a focus in accounting and a minor in criminal justice.
Did you receive any scholarships in college?
Originally, I had an athletic scholarship and later gotten both athletic and academic scholarships.
Pretty good grades?
Yes.
What was your GPA you graduated with?
A 3.8.
Okay. Now, as far as athletics go, what sport did you participate in college?
Track and field.
And were you a short distance or a long distance?
I was a sprinter.
Okay. After college, what did you do?
After college, I got a job in the private sector as an entry-level accountant.
And at some point, did you go back to school for continued career education?
Yes.
What did you do next?
I went to Lansing Community College for their police academy.
And why did you join the police academy?
I just wanted to do a job that was more fulfilling.
And what were your feelings on police work? Why police work?
It was a fulfilling job.
There's
There's more
voices, I don't know where that's coming from.
Sounded like we do, yeah.
No, it was your person, Sarah Lynch.
Very sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Lodge.
Thank you. Why did you pick police work?
It's never the same thing every day. To me, it was more fulfilling than working in an office, and got to help people.
Now, what year approximately was that you attended the police academy?
2015?
And you mentioned LCC, Lansing Community College.
Yes.
Is that academy what's called an MCOLS accredited academy?
It is.
MCOLS, Michigan Commission of Law Enforcement Standards, is that your understanding?
Yes.
And I'm sure we could spend hours talking about the MCOLS Academy and the different topics, but just in general, what did your MCOLS Academy prepare you for?
I would say it gives you a foundation to continue training as a police officer.
And is your understanding that the basic standards trained at LCC is consistent with all other MCOLS accredited academies across the state?
That's my understanding.
How long was the academy at LCC?
Approximately 4 months.
Full time?
Yes.
And what's full time?
It's 40 plus hours a week.
Are there a variety of topics covered?
Yes.
Approximately how many?
There's probably over 100 different topics.
And you give just a sampling of some of the basic topics covered at the LCC Academy.
I'd say the main ones are criminal law, investigations, use of force, first aid.
Now, use of force, that's a topic that's discussed going all the way back to your initial MCOLS Academy.
Correct.
And does MCOLS train you that you need to use force at times upon subjects?
Yes.
And do they give you instructions on how and perhaps when to use certain levels of command or force?
Yes.
At MCOLS, do they discuss some of the realities that police may encounter out in the field?
Yes.
Is that always predictable?
No.
Can you explain?
I'd say most of what we do out in the field is not predictable. It's a dynamic environment, and we train in a controlled setting.
Now, at the MCOLS Academy, is there always a perfect way or a best way to handle every situation or scenario?
I'd say we strive for perfection. Probably never achieve.
Does MCOLS, going all the way back, do they talk about certain circumstances that may be beyond an officer's control that might affect their performance in real life encounters?
Yes.
They talk about factors, and I'm sure there's a plethora of them, but reaction times, is that something that's discussed all the way back at MCOLS?
Yes.
What do they teach you about reaction times?
Essentially, action beats reaction.
And how do they, some examples of how they teach that?
One of the main ways is a 7-yard or a 21-foot rule, essentially, that someone could cover that distance and harm you before you could react.
And do they go through drills and videos and things like that as well to demonstrate this?
Yes.
So even back to MCOLS Academy, are you shown that there can be factors that put a police officer at a disadvantage?
Yes.
But even with knowledge of potential limitations, do you still need to respond to calls?
Yes.
You still need to enforce laws?
Yes.
Are the situations that police encounter, is it always safe?
Typically not.
But are you still required to march into a lot of volatile situations?
Yes.
What if you don't perform your essential functions, even going all the way back to the MCOLS Academy? What are you told if you don't perform your essential functions? What can be some of the consequences of that?
Either I or others could be injured, if not other consequences
Such
at your
as?
department, such as cowardice.
Okay. Now, going back to the MCOLS Academy, do they use scenarios and simulations?
Yes.
Is this meant, what is your understanding of why they do these scenarios and simulations?
It's just to get us used to problem solving and learning whatever they're trying to teach us at the time.
Are these run out in the real life field, or are they in a rather controlled setting?
Controlled setting.
Now, at the conclusion of the MCOLES Academy, are you given a rather lengthy and thorough examination to ascertain your knowledge on these topics?
Yes.
And are you ultimately given an examination?
Yes.
I'm sorry, are you ultimately required to attain a certain score?
Yes,
And did you pass the MCOLES Academy?
I did.
Now, after the LCC Academy, are you a fully licensed police officer?
You are not. You need to complete training at a department.
While you were in LCC, did you start to apply for jobs?
I did.
And was one of those departments GRPD?
Yes.
And was that a rather sought-after job back then?
I'd say so.
Why
yes.
is that?
The opportunities, the different departments, if you will, that you can get into.
Now, were you ultimately hired?
Yes.
What happens after you're hired into GRPD?
You go into an 8-week in-house training where you do more scenarios.
Okay. I know throughout the course of the trial, we've seen the video montage.
Yes.
What year was that video montage from?
2015?
And is that you at the 8-week GRPD Academy?
It is.
And is that full-time, the
Yes.
8-week? What's full-time for that academy?
I would say that was just 40 hours a week.
Okay. Now, are the topics covered at GRPD, are those identical to MCOLES, or how do you compare?
I would say they're more specific to Grand Rapids. Essentially, they're putting us in different scenarios and having to solve problems the way Grand Rapids wants us to solve them.
Okay. Covered some of the same topics as far as traffic stops, first aid, is that fair to say?
It's fair to say.
Now, do you cover firearms training?
Yes.
Are a lot of the concepts in firearms training similar from GRPD to MCOLES as far as the basic concepts?
The basics, yes. I think Grand Rapids is probably more advanced than what the academy was.
What level of force is firearm deployment upon a human?
Deadly force.
And in GRPD, do they take you through scenarios and situations that police might encounter as is exhibited on the video there?
They do.
The same scenarios as LCC, or do they go through quite a few more?
Definitely a lot more. LCC, you're more or less laying the groundwork and probably more book work and not as many scenarios. I felt as though Grand Rapids, we did more scenarios.
How many, roughly?
Probably thousands.
We saw just a sampling on the video of some of those scenarios.
Yes.
Now, as you're instructed on those scenarios, are you trained that there's only one way to effectively perform a task?
No.
What are they showing you there?
Essentially, there's a parameter, if you will, to handle it. There's definitely preferred ways, but there's definitely no person is the same. So the way I handle something is going to be different than what someone else handles something.
Now, does the GRPD Academy, similar to MCOLES, do they try to expose you to some of the limitations that an officer may expose out in real life?
Yes.
Do they discuss topics like human reaction time?
Yes.
Now, does GRPD, do they train you on weapons, other weapons as well?
Yes.
What weapons were you trained on with GRPD?
The Taser.
Any others?
Their issued firearm and pepper spray, baton.
Okay. Now, going to the Taser. You need a drink of water? Go ahead. All right. Who instructs the Taser training?
Master Taser instructor.
And we've sat through several experts on tasers, okay? So I'm not going to ask you about all of the workings of the Taser. But your Taser training, does that go all the way back to the 8-week that they start to train you?
Yes.
Is it lectures, hands-on? How do they instruct you?
Combination. There's definitely a classroom element, scenarios, and they do a voluntary exposure.
And we'll get to that in a moment here. But if used properly by a trained person, what is the main goal of using the taser on a subject?
To achieve neuromuscular incapacitation.
And can the taser be effective at causing
Yes.
incapacitation? And do you know that firsthand?
Yes.
Now, your voluntary tasing, was that back at your 8-week then?
Yes.
Mr. McFarland, could you just pull up? I believe it's Defense Exhibit J. It's the voluntary tasing. Does that appear to be your voluntary tasing session?
Yes.
We've had this explained, but is it a rather controlled setting?
Yes.
Does safety seem to be paramount?
Yes.
The faces are blurred off, but what is everybody wearing on their eyes?
Everyone's wearing safety glasses.
Now, what is your understanding of why the voluntary tasing might be beneficial to recruits?
Just to know the effects of it, to know what you would potentially be doing to someone else as well.
But even though controlled, do you still have to sign a waiver?
Yes.
And essentially, what is the waiver telling you?
Essentially, that waiver, my understanding was relieving the city of any potential liability from injury or death that the device may cause.
Now, who's deploying the taser on you there?
It's a master taser instructor.
Could you please play the video, Mr. McFarland?
Taser.
How'd that feel?
Terrible.
What did it feel like?
Just essentially your muscles contract involuntary to their max capacity, and it's extremely excruciating pain.
Now, can you compare it to anything else that you'd ever experienced?
No.
Have you ever felt like anything like that before in your life?
No.
Now, after having felt the effects of the taser, would you volunteer to do it again?
No.
But prior to being tased there, did the master taser instructor give you some instructions on what was going to happen?
Yes.
What did they tell you?
They did a couple different deployments and varying spread, and he let me know how he was going to deploy it on me
Okay.
and where.
I'm sorry, where?
Yeah.
And does that help at all with any angst that you may have?
Probably alleviated some.
Now, when you were tased there, did you feel like you had much control over your body?
No.
And we've heard this term, I think, sometimes, taking the ride. Is that what they refer to it as, is when you're under the effects of the taser?
Yes.
How long does that ride last?
5 seconds.
Do you feel during that 5 seconds that you have the ability to defend yourself?
No.
What are you trained that can mean for a police officer in the field if someone fights them for their taser and uses it on them?
They would get access to our firearm.
Now, in police training, do you discuss topics like that? Officers getting disarmed of their weapons?
Yes.
Generally, what are you trained to presume if a subject forcefully disarms an officer of their weapon?
They would use it on us.
The ride is 5 seconds?
It is.
How long do you think it would take for someone to get your firearm off your body and use it on you?
Second.
Mr. McFarland, could you please play that again? What were you trained back then, as far as if the user continued to hold it or continued to press the button?
Well, so it's designed to be charged for 5 seconds, but you can hold the trigger down or keep pressing the trigger to keep doing additional 5-second cycles.
In your training, are you warned not to continually hold it or have repeated trigger pulls on
Yes.
a subject? What were you warned was the risk of prolonged or continuous holds or deployments?
Can cause cardiac arrest.
And is cardiac arrest mentioned in the axon materials that they go through with you?
Yes.
What can be the result of cardiac arrest?
Death.
Would you expect an untrained person to know that a continued or repeated ride could cause cardiac arrest?
No.
Now, how far was the master taser instructor from you approximately when it was deployed?
Probably 2 feet.
Would that have, particularly with that older model, would that have been optimal probe spread?
No.
Can you just stand up a second?
Yeah.
Where did the probes hit on you?
They hit my, I guess, right leg, just the back side of it, and they were probably only that far apart.
So that's fairly close. Is that fair
I
to
would say
say?
it's really close.
But watching that video, was it only your leg that felt the effects of that?
No, I would say it was my entire lower body, but my arms are, it's more or less an involuntary response, so I didn't feel like I had control of my arms.
Do you feel like the taser did its job and was able to incapacitate you?
Yes.
Now, just going back to this topic of a closer deployment like that, after your voluntary tasing, did the GRPD, we've heard there was updates in models.
Yes.
Do you recall what model that old one was?
I don't recall the names. I know at the time of the incident that we're here for, I had the Taser 7.
Okay. And was there a new feature on the Taser 7 for close quarter situations compared to the older model there?
Yes.
And we've heard, was there a new cartridge?
Yes.
Just explain that.
I obviously don't know the exact degrees. Essentially, there is a cartridge designed with a wider angle, if you will, to achieve a greater, we'll call it NMI, at close range.
So, if in this video you would have had the newer Taser 7 model and it was deployed at that same distance, what may have been the effect on you there?
I would assume a greater effect as probes get further apart.
Now, besides the cartridges, were you trained that the Taser has the ability to drive stun?
Yes.
And how do you activate the drive stun?
Anytime the device is activated, essentially the drive stun is activated. The drive stun's the technique. The
Attorneys keep mixing it up.
It's essentially the end of the device gets activated along with the probes and wires.
And then are you taught that you can drive that activation and stun the individual?
Correct.
So it's the action is drive stunning.
Or you would get a greater NMI by doing that.
And I'd like to go into that here, because under what circumstances did GRPD train you to use the drive stun?
Every time we would use the drive stun, it would be to achieve NMI.
So was that the only time you were ever practicing the drive stun on individuals?
Correct.
So to a GRPD officer, you're only using the drive stun in association with NMI?
Correct.
Mr. McFarland, could you please go to this Defense Exhibit J? And this is the 8-week demonstration on the dummy. Just to confirm, is this you in the video here that
It
we'll
is.
see in a moment?
Yeah.
And was this back in the 8-week academy?
Yes.
Could you please play that? Chris, how far from, that's a dummy, correct? It's not a live person.
Yeah.
How far were you from the dummy when you deployed the probes?
Foot.
And what did you do after you deployed the probes?
I moved the device to what would be the dummy's calf.
Were you trained that that's an acceptable distance to deploy the taser?
Yes.
You've heard throughout this trial some question of you should not deploy the taser at a closer range under some different standards. This is how you were trained, that you could use the taser in that close of quarters?
Correct.
Could you just play it again, please? I'd just like you to focus on unholstering here, please. Be able to see yourself getting the taser out of the holster.
Yeah.
And the jury's heard some testimony on this already, but does it take some action to get the device out of the taser?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, get the device out of the holster.
So this device, I would say, and holster combination was significantly easier than what I was equipped with on the day of the incident. This one was a little more loose fit, so it's easier to actually, you have a snap, which is kind of hard to undo at times, and then a hood that holds the device in. So this was a little bit looser fit, so it was a little more functional, if you will.
And when the Taser 7 came out, are you provided with new training materials on that?
Yes.
And was that a topic that was discussed in some of those materials as far as that it has a different type of holster?
Yes.
Now, let's just say on this video, what if only one probe connected or made contact even with the dummy there? What would the drive stun do there? What could the drive stun do to help cause NMI?
It would, I guess as they would say, complete the circuit to create it's always a third point of contact, but you get that another point of contact to create the NMI.
Okay. Now, prior to April 4 of 2022, did you have occasion to actually use your taser on subjects out in the field?
I did.
How many times?
Just once.
And where on the body did you deploy the taser on that prior occasion?
Subject's back.
And was it a struggle with the individual, or?
Yes.
And how far away were you from the individual when you deployed?
Foot and a half.
And what did you do after that?
I believe I had to move the device to another area on the subject to achieve NMI.
And what did this assist you in the situation?
Yes.
What were you able to do from that point?
I was able to take the person into custody.
Now, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here, okay? But in that prior use out in the field, going to April 4 and the incident that we're here on, the proximity of you and that individual in the prior case, was that a very similar proximity as you were to Mr. Lyoya when you went to initially draw your taser?
Yes.
On that prior taser occasion, are you required to notify your department if you use force?
Yeah, any use of force, we have to notify the department.
And was anything found inappropriate about the way you used your taser on that occasion?
No.
What did the department actually do in response to your use of taser on that occasion?
Somebody have to object or get into another taser deployment, what the department did or anything is purely irrelevant.
Your Honor, I think it's important to go to what his training was and what his department did as far as in response. They didn't.
To a different incident?
Yeah, to solidify his training and their practices and his experiences.
So I'll sustain that objection, because I don't believe that particular question was one calling for a relevant response to the case.
What's ingrained in your head from that prior experience as far as the distance that you were from Mr. Lyoya and whether that might be appropriate?
That it was appropriate.
Now, during Taser training, are recruits and officers, when they're updates, provided with lectures and materials from Axon?
I'm sorry, can you say that?
Are you provided or gone through with materials from Axon, the manufacturer?
Yes.
And what are you warned about the Taser?
That it can cause serious bodily injury or death.
Now, are you trained on preferred target areas of the body to use the Taser?
Yes.
And how do they show you this in general? Do you recall anything in particular? I think it's in
It's
some
just,
of
yeah, it's just a body and it shows caution areas.
And are you trained on areas to avoid them?
Yes.
And we've heard this area is sensitive areas. Is that something that's discussed?
Yes.
What areas on the body are you trained to avoid using the Taser upon?
Essentially the head, neck, genital region,
And
and chest.
are you taught to avoid either shooting probes or using drive stun on those areas?
Yes.
What are you trained can be the risk of Taser use on the eyes?
Blindness.
Now, are you also advised that Taser use on some of these sensitive areas can just overall cause serious injury or death?
Yes.
So that's you, the officer, that's what you're being instructed directly from the manufacturer, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, going back to the 8-week here, after the 8-week, what are your duties?
I'm assigned to a field training officer. Essentially, we go into a FTO program that's 4 months long. You're given different training officers to grade your performance on a daily basis.
And I'm sorry, you said that's how long?
4 months.
4 months with an FTO,
Correct.
is that what they're referred to?
Yes.
And along the way, they're evaluating and critiquing you, is that right?
That's right.
And over time, do they start to give you more responsibilities?
Yes.
Do you deem the FTO, are they essentially an extension of the training unit?
They are.
Would an FTO generally be well-versed in the rules, policies, and the practices of the department?
Should be, yes.
At some point, were you an FTO down the road?
Yes.
For how long approximately?
I think 3 or 4 years.
So did you essentially train other officers in the Grand Rapids Police Department
Yes.
on practices, policies, and procedures? Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, going to April of 2022, how long would you have been an officer with GRPD in April 2022?
Almost 7 years.
In April 2022, were you overall physically fit?
Yes.
Were you a little ways from your college athletic days, or did you maintain that for?
I think it'd be fair to say I didn't have the amount of time to dedicate to exercise like I did in my college days.
But in April 2022, what did you do to maintain fitness, just generically?
I exercise 5 or 6 days a week, whether it's cardio or weightlifting.
Okay. Anything marathons, Ironman, anything like that?
No.
How about MMA or competitive wrestling, anything along those lines?
No.
Why did you stay physically fit?
I just think it's important. We are required to back up our partners and assist people on calls, and unfortunately, part of our job is sometimes we have to go hands-on with people.
Okay. During the 6 years of service up until April 2022, do you have ongoing trainings?
Yes.
Can you just give us a little synopsis, or how often?
I'd say we have regular trainings. It started to become more regular was smaller blocks at that time, so we might have been doing training maybe a couple times a month on different topics.
Are there policy updates over the course of that time?
Yes,
And are you required to stay up to date on policy changes?
yes,
Is that something you took seriously?
yes.
Now, as a road patrol officer in GRPD in April of 2022, were there certain crimes that were more prevalent or perhaps more of concern for you out on the road in that time?
Yes.
What were they?
I would say in the city at that time we had to worry about gun violence, drugs, and stolen cars.
Now we're going to April 4 of 2022, all right?
Yep.
What shift were you working that day?
First shift.
What time does your first shift run?
Mine ran from 5:30 in the morning to 5:30 at night.
So you've got 12 hours that you're essentially out on the road.
Correct.
How many days a week? Generally, were you working 12-hour shifts?
Well, it kind of varies. I mean, some weeks. So one week it's Monday, Tuesday, and you have Wednesday, Thursday off, and you work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The next week you work Wednesday, Thursday, and that's it. So
It's all over the place.
it's all over the place.
Okay.
And then overtime in between there.
All right. Now, for a 5:30 a.m. shift, what time would you have woken up on April 4 of 2022?
Between 4 and 4:30.
Any normal routine in the morning for you?
Just shower, shave.
Okay. What time did you normally arrive to GRPD?
Sometime around 5.
What was your normal routine when you arrive down at the station?
Just get into uniform and then go to the room that we had line up at and go over wanted subjects, and we also had a sheet for stolen cars.
Now, what time would you actually, for a 5:30 shift, what time would you actually get out on the road?
Oh, probably closer to 6.
And it's been 3 years, okay, so I'm not asking you to remember every bit of your morning there, but do you remember in general what you had done during your shift prior to this episode here that morning?
I believe I responded to just a basic alarm at some point, and I know one of the issues I had in my service area was speeding complaints in a school zone in the area of 36 in Kalamazoo. I went down there and realized that it was spring break. It was pretty slow, so there wasn't many cars to stop in that area at that time.
Okay.
I know I reviewed policy here and there, and eventually ended up in the area of Kalamazoo and Fuller.
What were the weather conditions that morning?
Cold, wet, rainy, like a rain-snow mix.
Overall, was it a busy morning out around the roads, or was it slow? Or
I recall it being pretty slow.
now you mentioned Kalamazoo. You eventually found yourself over in the area of Kalamazoo Avenue and Fuller Avenue, correct?
Correct.
And is that on the southeast side of Grand Rapids?
It is.
Are you familiar with that area?
Very familiar.
Why is that?
I was assigned that area night shift for 6 years.
Okay. Now, at some point, did you observe the Nissan Altima in that area?
I did.
And can you just explain to us here as far as when you first observed that?
I was traveling south in Kalamazoo, approaching the area of Dickinson and Orville. I noticed the vehicle was traveling slowly, and as I had gotten fairly close to it, it made an abrupt right-hand turn onto, I believe, Orville. At that point, I was able to run the license plate, and I continued south on Kalamazoo.
Now, what does it mean to run a license plate?
Essentially, we have a computer right next to us and were able to enter the license plate information into, giving us access to Lean Law Enforcement Information Network and Secretary of State information.
And running license plates, is that a common practice for you out on patrol every day?
It is,
How often would you say you run license plates?
depending on the day, how busy I am, I could run up to 30 license plates a day.
Okay. When you ran the license plate, were you behind the vehicle then?
I was.
Were you ever able to even see the occupants inside of the vehicle?
No.
So the vehicle, Mr. McFarland, could you please pull up the map? Chris, can I just approach you here?
Yes.
Or can I approach the witness? I just want to get a laser pointer.
You want to try that?
So what direction were both?
Identify the exhibit, please. It says Q at the corner, is it exhibit Q?
Yes, I'm sorry. This is defendant's proposed exhibit Q.
So Q was already admitted.
That's stipulated, okay.
So this is exhibit Q.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So Chris, just to help us understand this a little bit, what direction were you driving and whereabouts were you when you first observed the ultimate?
In this area, and I believe it was right around here, Kalamazoo and Orville, when I'd gotten fairly close to it.
Just to confirm that north is going up and south is going downwards here on this map.
Correct.
So if I have it right, you were traveling south and the Altima was traveling south in front of you?
Correct.
The Altima turned where?
I believe it was Orville.
Alright.
So they made a right-hand turn to head west on Orville.
And as it's turning, you type in the plate, and where do you continue while you're typing in the plate?
I continued south on Kalamazoo.
And just tell me, as far as running a plate, what's the norm with this system?
You'll
Experience?
type it in into a little box, and you usually experience some type of delay. So, depending on the Wi-Fi connection at the time,
Okay. At some point, do you get a response from that?
I did.
This search. And what does that indicate to you?
I had gotten a response indicating that the license plate that I had ran didn't match the vehicle that I'd just seen, essentially.
Now, a plate that does not match a vehicle, is that a law violation?
It is.
Is it a legal justification to stop a vehicle?
It is.
So what did you do next?
Well, I had gotten the response prior to reaching Griggs. When I saw that I had gotten a response indicating an improper plate, I turned right onto Griggs and driven up to Newark, where I saw the Nissan traveling south on Newark, about mid-block or so.
What did you do next?
I went north on Newark in an attempt to just get eyes on the vehicle, verify it's the vehicle I saw, and also verify that I had the license plate information correct.
Is that something that you like to do in that situation?
Yeah, especially when it's super easy to fat finger a letter and potentially get an improper response on my own.
Okay. So now if I have it right, you're traveling north on Newark and the vehicle is traveling south towards you?
Correct.
And what happens next?
I turn right behind the vehicle as I'm passing it to check the license plate and to verify I entered it correctly, and I pull into a drive somewhere around here in an attempt to get behind this car so I can stop it.
And as you turned there, were you able to get a look at the license plate?
I was.
And what did that indicate?
That I'd ran the license plate correctly.
Now, throughout this trial, we've been watching videos, dash cam and body cam videos. When you turn into the driveway there to turn around, is this the moment that the cameras activate? All right, you're gonna correct me there.
Yeah.
And we've had people explain the cameras.
The camera, yeah. Essentially,
Go
we're
ahead.
on a 30. That's where we see the camera start on all the videos that we've seen, just because of the 30-second delay. Yes.
Okay. And if we heard it right from, I believe, the Axon expert as well as Detective or Captain Cyber talked about, a lot of times the camera's always running generally, is that right?
Correct.
But there's certain triggers that start the recording mechanism.
Starts the recording mechanism, and when that starts, it brings in the 30 seconds prior to that activation point.
So you had some type of trigger later on, and then it jumped back and started recording you to the point that you were turning around there.
Correct.
And does it activate your dash cam and your body cam?
Yes.
Okay. So what did you do next after you turned around?
Well, I wanted to initiate a traffic stop on the vehicle, so as I turned around, the vehicle turns right onto Griggs from Newark, and that's essentially, then we see me starting to head this direction as well. And as I'm making this turn, the Nissan is making another right-hand turn onto Nelson.
So where did the Nissan start out up on Oroville?
Somewhere in this area.
And it turned off Kalamazoo where?
Well, it turned off Kalamazoo in this area onto Oroville, I believe. And that's where I lost sight of it and continued south after running the license plate.
Okay. So at this point, the Altima turned on to Oroville, traveling down Newark, took a right on Griggs, is that right?
Yes.
And then took a right on Nelson?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So essentially, the vehicle was somewhat starting to drive in a circle?
Yes.
Right? Anything about when you turn around on a vehicle immediately after passing it, start turning around and then it starts driving, making a couple of right turns, anything about that is noticeable to police?
Just seems evasive. A lot of
Okay.
times people will change their direction just based on the sight of our fully marked cruisers.
So what did you do next here, Chris?
Well, I had gotten on the radio and notified dispatch that I was making a traffic stop.
Why were you making a traffic stop?
Why? Because the license plate didn't match the vehicle.
And that's a lawful justification to stop a vehicle, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So I think we've seen it on video, but you get on the radio and call out a traffic stop.
Yes.
What's the normal routine or expectation or common practice when a GRPD officer calls out a traffic stop? Just calling it out.
Essentially, I'm calling out the traffic stop to let my teammates know that I'm where I'm at and to head my direction.
Okay.
So that the expectation is someone should be heading that direction.
Did you request anyone to head
I
in that
didn't actually say those words, but just calling out the traffic stop itself, that it provides that expectation.
Is that the normal routine that other cars may come over and, I'm not sure the terminology, but rolled past or something along those lines?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what happens after you call out the traffic stop?
I started calling it out, and then I activated my overhead lights, which is when the cameras actually activate, and that's where we hear the sound. And then I proceed to finish calling out the traffic stop as I'm coming to a stop. At that point, the driver of the vehicle is exiting as I'm finishing my transmission.
Okay. Is the driver getting out of the vehicle when you're pulling them over, is that normal?
It's definitely, it happens quite a bit. It's just, wouldn't say it's the norm, I guess, but it does. Sometimes we do have people exit and start arguing and that type of thing.
What does that do for the police officer compared to a normal traffic stop?
It definitely raises our stress level.
Now, what are you trained to do in that situation when the driver gets out of the vehicle?
Just take control of the situation, usually just by giving authoritative, concise commands.
Now, what is the importance of trying to take command in a situation like that?
Just to keep myself and others safe.
Are there unknowns when you pull a vehicle over in a traffic stop?
Yes.
Now, when you tell the driver to get back in the car, does he follow your directions?
No.
And you talk about this take command. How are you trained to take command as far as just your voice and the directions?
It's just an authoritative voice with just simple commands of what you want someone to do.
And is right in your policies, is that what you're trained to do as far as authoritative, concise commands?
Correct.
Because on a normal traffic stop, driver not getting out of the vehicle, what's your normal approach on a traffic stop?
I just walk up and say, hey, I'm Officer Schurr with Grand Rapids Police Department. I stopped you for whatever the reason may be, and at that point I'll request their driver's license, proof of insurance, registration.
Because in this non-take command, usually you have a much different tone. Is that right on a
It's
traffic stop?
significantly different.
But here, you're trained, you need to talk authoritatively and concisely, is that right?
That's right.
Now, in this take command situation, does that do anything to your stress level as the officer?
Yeah, it definitely raises my stress.
Why?
I don't know what's going to happen.
Now, at this point, do you know who the driver is?
No,
Do you have any idea why he's getting out of the car?
I don't.
Now, you gave how many commands approximately did you give the driver to get back in the vehicle?
4 or 5.
Did he follow any of those?
No.
Now, failure to follow police officers' commands, can that in and of itself be a law violation?
Yes.
And could you technically have the authority just to place the individual under arrest right there?
Yes.
And did you do that?
No.
Why?
I just wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. So what did you do next as you're commanding the driver to get back in the vehicle?
I approached him and kind of had some back and forth in regards to, I believe he questioned me on the reason for why I stopped him, what the issue was. And I had to repeat to him why I stopped him. At some point, he said something that I didn't quite understand, between just not understanding him and obviously he hadn't listened to any of my commands. I asked him if he spoke English.
And what was his response?
He quickly responded yes.
Is it important that you understand each other?
Yes.
And were you able to confirm that?
Yes.
So what did you do next?
I asked him for a driver's license.
Is that normal in a traffic stop to ask for a driver's license?
It is.
Are drivers required to have a valid driver's license on them?
They are.
And if a driver does not have a valid driver's license, is that a basis to place them under arrest?
Yes.
So you asked the driver for their driver's license, and what was his response?
He patted one of his pockets, I believe, initially when I asked for it, and then wanted to say that he said it was in the car, and I told him to get it.
Okay. Now, what did you do during this, what did you do at this point?
Well, I told him to get the license,
Mhm.
at which point he asked the front seat passenger for the license, and I just kind of take a step back and observe that the front seat passenger appears as though he opens the glove box and shuts it without providing any type of license to the driver.
Based on your 7 years of police experience, what are you sensing at this point?
At that point, I'm sensing he doesn't have a license.
Okay. So what happens next?
The driver shuts the door and begins to walk away from me.
And when can a driver just walk away from a police officer in this situation?
No.
Based on your experience and the circumstances that had transpired thus far, what are you feeling at this point?
Well, your stress level definitely goes up. You're going to end up going hands-on with the person. So it's a pretty stressful situation. It starts to raise your heart rate a little bit, if you will.
So what do you do next?
I grab onto him, tell
Okay.
him to put his hands on his head.
Why?
I just wanted to place him under arrest.
Okay. Had he committed violations that were arrestable offenses?
Yes.
What happens when you place hands on him?
He spins towards me and shoves me away.
Now, in your experience, when you go to place individuals under arrest, do they always want to be arrested?
I would say typically people don't want to be arrested.
But is one of your essential job functions, going all the way back to the MLive Academy, that you may need to effectuate arrest by using some level of force?
Yes.
Is that what you were attempting to do here?
Yes.
I believe you mentioned that the driver pushed you. Is that right?
Yes.
Was there anything else during this initial skirmish that you took as any types of aggression?
His fists were clenched.
And what does that mean if someone's fists are balled up to you?
Could lead to a physical assault on me.
So at this point, did this turn into somewhat of a tussle already initially?
It did, yes.
Under Michigan law, is it a violation, a felony violation to assault and resist a police officer?
It is.
So now what happens?
He proceeds to run away from me.
Does he get very far from you?
No, not really.
So what do you initially do?
Initially, I got on the radio just to let dispatch know that I had someone running to elicit emergency response.
What does emergency response mean?
Essentially, people will start driving with lights and sirens activated and exceeding the speed limit, in hopes to get people there quickly.
In your, maybe it was 5 years or so working in that area, when you send out a message for an emergency response, what is your normal expectation of having other officers show up on scene?
Well, I think one of the big things is that area is pretty well confined, and it's not like we're working in the city, so we have officers in a small area, if you will. Typically, when you say that over the air, you can hear the sirens just saying something like that on the radio, and I don't recall hearing them at that time. But also, I mean, cars typically get there within a minute or two.
Okay. Now, was the driver, as he started trotting away, was he moving very fast?
No.
On April 4, were you in overall good physical condition?
Yes.
And going back all the way to the MLive Academy, are you trained that you may need to get into foot chases?
Yes.
And are you trained that you need to often run into very volatile and unknown situations?
Yes.
Based on your experience working in the service area of Grand Rapids, why do individuals often run from police?
My experience has been that when people run, it's typically for some type of felony offense associated with what they're doing.
So, does any foot chase then, is there always some type of risk or perhaps danger to an officer in a foot chase?
Yes.
Is there a policy advising officers that they cannot foot chase?
No.
And in fact, had you and fellow officers on your team been in other foot chases in the past?
Yes.
Approximately how many?
With other teammates and that kind of thing, I've probably been involved in hundreds, 100 or so, I would say.
So is it a normal expectation to pursue on foot when you're working with GRPD?
Yes.
How many solo foot chases do you think you were in?
Probably 30 or 40.
And is that a topic that the department had recognized you for in the past as far as?
Objection, this is like the second time they've tried to introduce stuff that's already been excluded by the court, Your Honor.
Your Honor?
Because you have already had that discussion.
Can I just build a record briefly, Your Honor? The prosecution's experts.
Clear, then Your Honor.
Chris, had you gotten in similar foot chases to the foot chase here in the past?
Yes.
And did your department ever punish you for that?
No.
In those foot chases, do you draw up a detailed police report?
Yes.
Do you have a body cam?
Yes.
Where do those detailed police reports explaining what you did, where do those go?
To the police department,
And then where?
Kent County Prosecutor's Office.
Was there ever any concern in the past with your similar foot chases in the past?
No.
Your efforts in other foot chases, did you catch people that were wanted on other criminal matters?
Yes.
Were you successful in getting a lot of unlawful contraband off the streets?
Yes.
During your tenure at GRPD, had there been episodes where subjects flee from police and then unlawfully enter the property of others?
Yes.
This area here, is that a rather densely populated area?
Yes.
And are there a lot of families living in those neighborhoods?
Yes.
Now, going back to the pursuit here, where did the driver initially start trotting towards?
Towards my patrol vehicle.
And you mentioned, what do you initially do when he starts to run?
I got on the radio.
So what do you do next?
I continued to chase him, and he turned in between his car and mine, and I waited till we got to a grassy area to initiate a tackle.
As you started to pursue him, were you confident in your abilities to catch up to him?
Yes.
Was he that far ahead of you?
No.
And he had just assaulted you, is that right?
Yes.
After you tackle him, what was your intention?
My intention is just to arrest him.
In that situation there that we see, did you want the driver to get up off the ground?
No, it's definitely advantageous for us to arrest somebody on the ground at that point with just their stomach on the ground.
Were you giving any verbal commands to the driver?
Yes.
What were you saying, if you recall?
And I know I told him stop resisting, get his hands behind his back. A
Did he
variety of.
Did he comply with any of the commands?
No.
As the driver's on the ground, what is he doing?
His muscles are tense. I'm trying to grab his arms and I'm not able to get control of them.
Were you able to keep the driver on the ground during this initial skirmish?
No.
Was he able to get up off the ground then?
He was.
How
yeah.
many times?
Well, he gets up off the ground a few times during the entire incident.
Now, are you trained on, and I think we've already talked about this with the training unit, but are you trained on some different maneuvers to try and apprehend a suspect in a situation like that, to try to apprehend them and get them in cuffs?
Yes.
Did you try some of those?
Yeah, I tried to initiate. Well, I did knee strikes on the driver.
What is the main goal of the knee strike?
Essentially, I was using my right knee to strike, I believe, his right thigh against what's known as the common peroneal, which is just a nerve, and essentially it does provide some pain to them, but it is more or less a distraction, an attempt to gain control of them.
Were you trying to injure him?
No.
Is that a maneuver that tends to cause injury?
No.
Were you mad or upset at this driver?
No.
What were you trying to do?
I was just trying to arrest him.
Were the knee strikes effective?
No.
Now, in your training, how are you trained to approach the initial encounter like this, as far as how much energy or how hard you're supposed to go at the initial outset?
Well, you definitely want to go pretty much as hard as you can and attempt to gain control as quick as you can.
And do they train you as far as whether you should try to give as many knee strikes as possible right off the bat?
I would say within reason, whatever is reasonable at the time, and attempt to gain control. I wouldn't say just keep going and giving them knee strikes like a bunch, but it needs to be proportional.
All right, I understand. Mr. McFarland, could you please go to the body camera video? I believe that's the people's exhibit. People's exhibit 2.
It is 3.
Sorry. Exhibit 3. And Mr. McFarland, could you go to 1 minute and 45 seconds? And I'm going to ask you if you could please play that to 2 minutes and 38. 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Could you please dim the light, Sue?
No, stop. Put your hands down. Stop. 1915, got one running. Stop. Okay. Stop. Get your hands behind your back, okay? Hands behind your back, okay? Turn your hands behind your back. 1915, 34 cars. Okay?
Turn the lights back up. Start me more cars. What does that mean?
I want an emergency response. I know I already asked for one, but my intent at that point is to let people know that I'm really struggling right now. And if you weren't driving fast, you better be driving a heck of a lot faster now.
Because from the moment where you first put your hand on him at approximately 1:45 until start me more cars, are we getting close to about a minute or so there?
Yes.
45 to 38?
Yeah.
Which direction was the driver running towards?
In northeasterly direction.
And was he on the sidewalk, or did he run over onto the grass in a different direction?
He ran over on the grass.
Is it, based on your experience, is it normal that individuals start to run in towards houses?
Typically, people start to run onto others' property. That is kind of, typically people don't just run down the sidewalk. It does happen, but I think people know that it's harder for us to chase them when they're jumping over fences and that type of thing.
Okay. One of your roles to protect all of these neighborhoods?
Yes.
Now, at this point, can you start to hear anything as you watch that, as far as your breathing goes?
Yeah, I'm definitely pretty exhausted at this point.
We're about a minute in. What were you wearing? We've heard some testimony about this, but what were you wearing that morning equipment-wise?
Just standard equipment. I had bulletproof vest with a plate, gun belt that had my firearm, taser, baton, flashlight, radio, pepper spray, 2 sets of handcuffs.
Approximately how much weight does that add up to, if you know?
20 or 25 pounds.
The knee strikes, do those, we watched some in the training montage as well, as far as you practicing those knee strikes. Do those take energy to use a knee strike?
They do, yes.
And the driver, I know he's saying, okay, but is there anything about his body actions that's different?
Nothing about his body actions are suggesting that he's trying to comply.
What's he doing?
He's continuing to resist me.
Okay. Now, up to this point, actually just backing up, we can't see it as well in that video, but you had testified that the driver had been able to get up off the ground at least maybe 2-3 times during this initial struggle.
Well, I was saying just an entire incident,
Okay.
2-3 times, but yeah, I tackle him and he's able to get up
Okay.
again pretty quick.
And were you putting your weight on top of him as he got up?
Yes.
During this situation, in these training materials, does it indicate that you should stay engaged with the individual?
Yes.
Perhaps move on to some other training to try to apprehend the individual?
Yes.
Because at this point, had you attempted several verbal commands?
Yes.
And did he comply with any of them?
No.
And had you now used several different lower levels of physical force upon the driver?
Yes.
And did those appear to have any effect on him?
No.
At this point, do you know who the driver was?
No.
Do you know why he's fighting so hard to avoid arrest?
I don't.
Does that mean anything to you?
I mean, I'm wondering why he's fighting so hard. Yes.
Because what's your normal experience having a struggle like this, where you chase and tackle and deliver some strikes?
My experience with foot pursuits has been typically people run, and if you start to catch up to them, sometimes they might just give up. Or you tackle them, they give up. Sometimes, yeah, you do have to do a couple knee strikes, and then they give up, but not this kind of drawn-out altercation, if you will.
So what are you thinking at this point?
I really don't know what I feel like there's something more going on. That's what I'm thinking.
Now, at this point, are you getting any type of response from other officers as far as sirens?
No.
Are other individuals around you now at this point?
Yes.
Do you know any of those people?
I do not.
I believe we've seen it already, and we'll watch it again in a moment here, but I just want to ask you first, at some point, do you and the driver move across the lawn?
We do.
What direction do you move towards?
I guess we head back south.
And was that your choice to move south?
No.
What did you attempt to do?
Well, I mean, ideally it would have been I would get his hands behind the back with us on the ground, but he's able to get up. I'm just holding onto his arms as he's walking us across the yard, if you will.
Did you try any additional maneuvers as you get across the yard?
As we go across the yard, I try to do another knee strike, but I felt like I couldn't even hardly pick up my legs.
Why is that?
I'm just exhausted.
Mr. McFarland, could you please play from 238 to 303 on People's Exhibit 8? Light.
Stop! Okay. Stop resisting!
Chris, were you able to hear your breathing there towards the end?
Yeah,
And what do you hear?
it just sounds like I'm wheezing.
Okay. And what's a wheeze?
I would say a constricted exhale, if you will.
Is it cold outside that morning?
It was.
And do you recall what you were feeling physically at this point?
I'm completely exhausted at this point.
Had your attempts thus far had any effect on the driver?
No.
And under policies in this situation, would you be justified to move up to some other level of force based on the driver's resistance and aggression that he's presented thus far?
Yes.
At this point, what do you train would be the next appropriate level of force to move up to?
Well, in my mind, I've tried knee strikes and they were completely ineffective. I didn't feel as though they were, having any type of effect, or even it didn't seem as though he was acknowledging the fact that I was striking him. So to me, what made the most sense with my level of exhaustion and just the lack of effect with those strikes, I felt as though I needed to move to a taser just to actually interrupt the muscle function.
And were you in proximity to the driver when you initially went to draw your, where were you in proximity to the driver when you initially went to draw your taser?
I believe I'm going for my taser right now, so I'm just right behind him.
And can you see anything blue? Where is your taser located on your body?
It would be on my support side, which is my left hip. So I'd have to reach across and grab for it.
Okay. And then you talked about the holster mechanism.
Correct.
To get the taser out of the holster. This proximity to the driver there, is that similar to the prior occasion where you used your taser on the job, as far as the proximity?
Yes.
And in that situation, was the individual also struggling?
Yes.
Now, what were your intentions at this point as far as where to deploy the taser?
My intention is to deploy it on the subject's back, just because it's more of a stress-free deployment for us in the sense that I don't have to worry about injuring him.
What happens next?
It takes me a little bit to get the taser out of the holster, and with me only having one hand on him, it affords him the opportunity to turn towards me.
Okay. And what happens as the driver turns towards you, if you can explain?
Well, when he turns towards me, I am actually able to finally get the taser out of the holster. And I recognize that he's facing me and I need to adjust or pay more attention to where the probes are actually going to be deployed.
This situation where the driver turns towards you, how much time does it take for this to quickly evolve?
Split second.
And I'm sorry, I may have missed this, but as the driver turned towards you, Was there a taser attempt? Was there a deployment attempt there?
Once I realized that the top probe was going to be below his diaphragm, I deployed the taser. Yes.
And what happened as you deployed the taser?
When I deploy it, the driver grabs on to the taser itself.
Now, after the driver grabs your taser, did he ever let it go?
No.
Did you tell him to let it go?
Yes.
Had anyone ever tried to take a weapon from you before on the job?
No.
And going back to your academy, to your training, is disarming a police officer, would that be a pretty serious scenario?
Yes.
And what had you been trained to presume if a subject fought for a weapon from you?
That they would use it on us.
So how are you feeling about this situation now?
Extremely stressed.
And had you ever had that feeling before on the job?
No, at this point, I'm afraid that he's going to get the taser from me and use it on me.
Now, this wheezing, the struggling for air that we heard, that was prior to the taser even coming out, is that correct?
That's correct.
And had you ever been in a physical combat situation this long on the job?
No.
Throughout the course of everything up to thus far, did the driver ever really stop resisting or fighting over the course of the whole struggle?
No.
Had you ever had a situation where you'd had to fight for a live weapon from someone?
No.
Mr. McFarland, could you just please play Exhibit 3 to the end? Lights, please.
How did you do it? Let go of the taser! Let go of the taser!
Please turn the light back on. Does it sound pretty chaotic right there?
Yeah.
And can you hear your breathing?
Yes.
Has it improved at all?
No.
And we've heard this talk in this time frame about a second cartridge. At some point in the struggle, did you ever notice that the taser deployed a second time?
No.
Does it sound like you're panting for air in that moment?
Yes.
And as you watch the videos now, or the cell cam video now, are there other things going around you as well that you don't remember?
Yes.
And do you remember what people were saying around you at this moment?
No.
But after the fact now, you've seen this video many times, correct?
That's correct.
And have you heard this assertion that the taser was deployed a second time?
Yes.
But Chris, as you watch this video, okay, the cell cam video of the passenger, from the moment that we can now see the taser was deployed, do you fight after that? Do you fight any less effort into trying to get the taser back after that?
No.
Why is that?
I'm afraid he's going to use it on me.
What was your focus at this point?
I just want to get the taser from him.
So what do you remember? Your body camera's off now. We
Yeah.
heard the explanation from the expert as far as the presses that were going on.
Yeah.
Is that fairly common in physical struggles?
Yeah, it happens.
Now, what do you remember happening next?
Somehow I ended up behind the driver. I don't know how I ended up behind him. I saw that he had full control of the taser, meaning that he was holding it like a firearm with his thumb in a position that was blocking the safety switch, the on-off switch. And I was reaching over top of him in an attempt to shut it off in hopes that he wouldn't be able to use it on me.
Okay. And what happens next during this effort?
At some point, I start to feel him turning towards me, and I feared that he was going to use it on me.
Now, based on your training and experience, was the driver close enough to deploy probes on you?
Yes.
Was he close enough to press a drive stun on you?
Yes.
Were you basically within arm's length of each other?
Yes.
And had you experienced that taser capabilities?
Yes.
What were you thinking he was going to do with it?
I believed he was going to use it on me.
And you have firsthand knowledge of the incapacitation?
Yes.
How long does the ride last?
5 seconds in an ideal environment.
How long does it take for someone to get your pistol off and use it on you?
Second.
Did you, throughout your training, throughout your career, were you trained that the taser can cause death or serious injury
Yes.
in several different ways?
Yes.
And was the driver in proximity to do that as he's turning towards you?
Yes.
During the course of this struggle, had the driver been able to get up on prior occasions in the past successfully?
Yes.
And what was your abilities at this point as far as breathing? Was it getting any better?
No, one of the main reasons why I brought the taser into it is because I had no energy left to begin with. And we then get into a struggle over it for I don't know how long. And I'm running on fumes.
What have you been trained going all the way back to the MLive Academy as far as action versus reaction? What have you been trained?
That action beats reaction.
And what does that mean here in that scenario for you?
If I had waited for him to point it at me, it would have been too late.
And what were you fearful of?
That he was going to use it on me and I was going to die.
Now, and you were in a proximity to each other that he could do that to you
Yes.
with how you've been trained about that device.
Yes.
Under your training, Chris, are you required to wait to be seriously injured or killed before you can resort to deadly force?
No.
So what did you do next?
I shot him.
Why?
I believe that if I hadn't done it at that time, I wasn't going to go home.
And Chris, we've been watching this video, analyzing this video in screenshots throughout this week, but in reality, is it fair the way that we're watching this in screenshots throughout this past week?
I'd argue it's not. No.
Because in reality, how much time did you have to make these decisions?
Split seconds.
After the shot, what was your energy level?
I really don't know how to describe my energy level. My energy was depleted that when I got the taser out initially. I don't know how I made it through that struggle.
And the video speaks for itself, but could you even really stand up after you fired the shot?
No.
Could you breathe very well?
No.
Mr. McFarland, could you please just play the dispatch, just one short segment of the dispatch?
So exhibit number or letter H.
H,
Thank you.
just the portion.
It is. 1915 August, involved a shooting. Healthy Grant. Okay.
Chris, was that your first call out after this shot?
Yeah.
How many breaths did it take to even get out less than 10 words?
I don't know.
Does that pretty much sum up your condition at this time?
Yeah.
How do you sound?
I've never been that exhausted.
Chris, were you out, did you want to shoot Patrick Lyoya
No.
when you took on this traffic stop?
No.
Did you have any prior bad blood with Patrick Lyoya?
No.
Were you mad at Patrick Lyoya?
No.
Did you plead with Mr. Lyoya to drop your weapon
I did.
To the best of your abilities, did you fight to attempt to get your weapon back after he disarmed you of it?
I did.
And Chris, just as far as police work goes, okay, your career, did you enjoy police work?
I enjoyed it, yeah.
And why?
We were afforded a unique opportunity to help people in I guess a unique way that most people are not able to.
Did you take on this job way back in 2015? Did you take on this job to help people or hurt people?
I guess I'm going to object, you know, we've gone over this, I think what's the relevance?
I think that was really asked and answered as well. So I'll sustain that objection.
As a police officer, were you trained that you have the right to go home at the end of your shift?
Yes,
And are you trained that you need to be seriously injured or killed before you can use deadly force?
no,
Chris, on as far as gun draws, okay? On prior occasions, did you have to pull out your pistol while on the job as a police officer?
yeah.
Roughly how many times had you drawn your gun, not at the range, but just out in the field?
A few hundred times.
And was it drawn within training and departmental policies on those prior occasions?
Yeah,
On some of those prior occasions, did you have some type of fear or some type of potential threat around you?
yes,
But on those hundreds of other occasions, did you ever fire your weapon once?
no.
And what was different here, Chris?
I believe if I didn't do what I did when I did it, I wouldn't be here today.
Now, backup ultimately arrived, is that right?
That's correct.
Do you even recall how long it took, or would you just be going off the videos?
Just be going off video.
And do you ultimately leave the scene?
I do.
Your Honor, I would move to play defendant's proposed exhibit that we discussed. I move for admission. I believe the court's already had the opportunity to look at that. It would be defense proposed exhibit GG.
Mr. Walker?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, and GG is admitted and you can play it.
You alright? Don't say anything, just checking on you, alright? You good? Alright, I'm gonna get somebody to be with you here in a second. I got an ambulance coming, we'll get you checked out. And I'll get a statement from you in just a second.
Is that you in that video, Chris?
It is.
And just approximate, but would that be maybe 4 or 5 minutes after the shooting?
I believe so.
Could you just play it again, please?
You alright? Don't say anything, just checking on you, alright? You good? Alright, I'm gonna get somebody to be with you here in a second. I got an ambulance coming, we'll get you checked out. And I'll get a statement from you in just a second.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, I kind of want to start out where this incident started. Your testimony was that you were traveling down, I believe this is Kalamazoo Avenue, correct?
Correct.
And that's when you saw Patrick's vehicle traveling too slowly.
It was traveling slowly. I
It was
wouldn't
traveling
say-
slowly.
Yep.
Nothing crazy about that, just traveling slower. What's the posted speed limit here?
It's only 25.
So it was traveling slower than 25.
Yeah, I believe
Okay.
so.
So then it turned on Orville,
I believe
correct?
so. Yep.
And how, it wasn't concerning enough that you continued to follow it.
No.
Okay, but you were close enough. How close were you to the vehicle, Patrick's vehicle? Car length?
Probably.
I mean, you had to see it. I mean, it's,
Yeah, it was hard to see. So
you
I was pretty close in order to read the license plate.
Okay. So it turns right in Orville, and you continue on down Kalamazoo.
Correct.
And that's when you figure out it's a bad plate.
Correct.
So by the time you get all the way down here, do your own right turn and come back up, he's still up in this area. He wasn't even all the way down, right?
Correct.
So it's not like he accelerated, not like he was trying to take off from you. He was still driving pretty darn slow because that's a farther distance to travel, right?
Correct.
And you travel, turn, and come back up, and he still was kind of poking along.
Correct.
So it wasn't like he was evading you at that point in time.
I don't think so.
I mean, you've had cars, I mean, you've been doing this long enough, people turn and then they try and take off, right?
Yes.
So he does a number 2 right turns after that. So you're saying 2 right turns are suspicious?
I would say in that manner, we're not sure where he is going at that time. Yeah, it does seem
That's
suspicious.
suspicious, just 2 right turns. Not
Not-
speeding.
Not necessarily. I mean, that's taken out of context, but
Contact.
I mean, 2 right turns in and of itself. I mean, we're traveling south, and then we're heading back north again. Upon seeing the side of my cruiser, and yeah,
Now, I think you can switch back over to mine, please. Now, I want to get into this. I want to make sure I'm using the same thing. You did a statement to Michigan State Police after this occurred, didn't you?
I did.
I want to make sure I'm referring to this. I'm going to show you this. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
You recognize that as your statement?
Yes.
And this is a type statement?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you sign that? This is your signature on it.
For I think.
I had the same problem.
Yeah.
Your handwriting is as bad as mine.
Yep.
So for what? For, I said
15.
15?
That would be my guess.
So this is?
22.
22? Okay,
Yeah.
so this happened on April 4th.
Yep.
Did you type this statement?
Yes.
Okay, you typed it, and then you signed it on the day, you got finished typing with it?
No.
When did you sign it then?
I don't recall the date of it being typed and it being signed and sent. I don't remember.
At least a few weeks after this happened.
Yes.
So you had time to think about what happened.
Yes.
You had time to go over what happened.
Yes.
Did you go over the videos, any of the videos before you wrote this statement?
I did. Yes.
So you reviewed the videos.
Yes.
So you present this, and you're going to be truthful, right? You want to be truthful because you're providing the Detective Tubergen and the Michigan State Police about your version of what happened, right?
Yes.
All right. So in that version, you said Patrick came out with a bladed stance.
Yeah.
Okay, a bladed stance we heard yesterday. It's like that's protecting a gun, protecting something like that. That's what.
It could. Yeah.
Okay.
It could mean that. Yes.
Or maybe trying to fight, right?
Yeah.
This is Exhibit 3, Your Honor. Where's the bladed stance?
When initially he opens the door, that's how I perceive that.
All right, go back. Can you maybe dim the lights, please? So at that point in time, that's a bladed stance, so you think he's going to fight or may have a gun?
I'm not saying that. It's just the way he was standing.
So right there, you think that's bladed like he's maybe going to do something?
It's definitely a different perception than the perception I had.
That's a different perception than the perception you had?
Yeah, because it's a different angle.
This is Exhibit 2.
Oh, I'm sorry, Exhibit 2, I did switch off. Your Honor. Thank you. So there's a different angle, so now you're saying you perceive it as this bladed stance, like he may fight or have a gun.
He just took a bladed stance, and it looks significantly different when you're where in my position to the left of that.
So that would be more your body cam.
Yeah.
Now we're on exhibit 3.
Back in exhibit 3, yeah. So that's, you're saying those two different views here.
To me, they appear different, yes.
You can turn the lights again, please. So taking this bladed stance, you've heard from Officer Dorr, that raises the level of suspicion, right?
It's something to be aware of, yes.
Because this in itself, I mean, how many traffic stops have you done for improper plates?
I'm not sure.
Hundreds.
Yeah, probably.
Tons of them. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
common stop. So this is a common stop. And this is improper plate. So somebody getting out, and by your version saying bladed stance, you're anticipating something bad then.
Him getting out of the car, I'm anticipating some kind of level of resistance, whether it's just verbal or him actually taking off running.
So then when he gets out of the car, you approach him. We're not going to go through everything there. But at some point in time, you say he doesn't speak English. You can tell he doesn't speak English.
I didn't say I
Excuse me, you thought he may not, because there's maybe a communication gap.
I was worried in the sense that there may be a communication gap because he hadn't responded to my commands yet at that time. And my perception to what was said, I didn't quite understand what he said. So I wanted to clarify and make sure he spoke English.
Do you speak English? Is that something that helps people that don't speak English understand English?
I think so, yeah.
This does?
I think it's a
Real quick,
way.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but for the record, the prosecutor is using a hand gesture, opening and closing his right hand. I just wanted to do that because you were like this, so I just
Sure.
want to make it clear for the record, but go ahead.
So then he answers he does speak English.
Yes.
Now, we want to go back, it's continuing on. Obviously, he doesn't have a driver's license, so having a driver's license, that's something that happens hundreds of times, correct?
Yes.
He doesn't have his driver's license, and then he shuts the door and begins to walk away from you. That's what you wrote here, back in April. He walks away from you.
Yes.
Now, in your testimony, you said that's when you went hands-on, and you said he had balled fists.
Yeah, he walked away, and when I went to put hands on, you can see that his fists.
You didn't put that in your written statement, though.
You're correct. Yeah, I don't think it's in there. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple weeks, you forgot about it then, but now you remember it now that he had balled fists?
It seems as though when I see this video quite a few times, yeah, there's things that I notice more.
So
Yeah.
things that you noticed or that you perceive from the video that you now can add in terms of what happened.
Yeah.
By your statement at the time, this is once again, so he walks away from you, you grab Patrick's right shoulder, which you proceeded to turn away from me, and resist my attempts to place him into custody, okay? That was your version. So he walks away from you, he turns away from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you wrote.
If that's, yeah.
Would you like it if you want to
Sure,
take a look at it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then he ran away from you, right?
He did. Yep.
Continued to run northeasterly from the traffic stop, so he ran away from you.
Well, yeah, he's running
Yeah.
away from
Understand?
me.
That's
Yeah.
what you wrote.
Yeah.
So then you had to tackle him. I want to continue on, kind of moving ahead. After you tackled him, you wrote.
Are we reading statements?
Yeah, I am. This is his statement. It's a prior consistent statement. I have to confront him with it.
It's not inconsistent with his testimony.
I'm getting to it.
I didn't hear it, so I'll reserve on the objection.
Okay. You wrote, after you tackled him, he did not comply with your commands as he was continuing to move his arms and legs in an attempt to get away from me.
Objection? I don't think this is the proper way if he's trying to impeach here. As far as he asked the witness if this refreshed his recollection.
I don't think he's trying to refresh his recollection.
No.
He's trying to impeach him with a prior inconsistent statement.
I don't think it's inconsistent, but
He never testified that Patrick was trying to get away from him. Correct?
I'm sorry, what was
He never
that?
testified that Patrick was trying to get away from him. Never said, he was moving his arms and legs,
Ran
trying to get
away
away.
from him? Turned and ran away from him?
I don't think that, well, I'll overrule the objection because this is cross-examination. He's reading what he previously stated, and to the extent that the jurors find that is not consistent, I mean, it appears that it is a bit consistent because he didn't say what that statement says, so.
You did not testify he was trying to get away from you. You testified you struggled, but in your statement, you recognize that he was after you tackled him, he was continuing to move his arms and legs in an attempt to get away.
So, what is the question exactly?
That's what he was doing. He was trying to get away, wasn't he?
I would say that he was moving his arms in a manner that struck me in attempt to get away. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's.
Yeah, but you didn't testify to that, but that's what you wrote back in April, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Further along after that, you attempted to.
Are we just gonna read the whole statement? I guess this just
Yeah.
doesn't seem like the way.
So in your whole testimony, you never testified he tried to get away from you, right?
I think saying that he ran from me would be him trying.
That's one.
Yeah.
But in your struggles with him, we're talking about now your struggle with him. After you tackle him, on two separate occasions in your written statement, you recognize he was trying to get away from you.
When
Didn't
I
you?
tackle him,
After you tackled him.
well, he's. I think that, I mean, that's the goal of the suspect or the driver in this
Well,
situation is.
that's-
I mean, typically when we go to arrest people, especially people that are fleeing on foot, yeah, I guess their goal is to get away from us. That's
Sure. Okay, the goal is to get away from you, but you even recognized that back at the time. In two separate occasions, you said he's moving his arms and legs to try and get away from you.
Yeah, I mean,
He didn't assault
I
you.
don't think what. Well, he did.
Well,
I don't think I'm saying anything different then.
Well, that's your interpretation.
Yeah.
But back there, you never said he assaulted you, never said he punched you, never said he kicked you. Every time, 4 different occasions now in your written statement, he's trying to get away from you. He's moving his arms and legs, trying to get away from you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I'm not saying he punched me.
Yeah.
I'm not now. Is what.
And you're not saying he kicked you.
No.
Right?
Correct.
Not saying he threw an elbow.
Correct.
Not saying he bit you.
Correct.
Not saying he headbutted you.
Correct.
Not saying he did anything else but try and get away.
I wouldn't use that blanket statement.
Now, in your testimony, we're going to move ahead to the time where you said he grabbed your taser. You testified to the jury, he grabbed your taser.
Yes.
He grabbed your taser and moved it away from him because he didn't like it tased, right?
I don't know what his intention was.
Well, you want to go back to your written statement back in April? Let's
Sure.
take a look at that. What did you write then?
Yeah. Moved it away from him.
Oh, we'll continue on.
Grabbed the body of the taser and moved it away from him.
So he would not be struck with either of the probes. That's what you wrote. You wrote that back. You just, you didn't even read it when I showed it to you. Why are you leaving that out?
I was reading the beginning. I thought that's what you.
So even then, it wasn't he was grabbing the taser to take it away from you. He was trying not to get tased.
I don't think you want to. No.
Well, nobody wants to. I'm not even,
Right. Yeah.
Tasing is not pleasant.
Correct.
Tasing is not fun.
No.
And I think you said, even in your thing, that tasing felt terrible.
Yeah.
Okay? So nobody's going to want to feel that. But something feeling terrible doesn't mean you can kill him, right?
No.
Because you would agree with that, because that's not part of Grandma's policy.
Correct. Just that statement.
Maybe a little bit further. Still on your body cam, exhibit 3. I'm gonna play it for just a little bit. And I don't think I have sound, you've heard it enough, so that's fine.
Did you say it was exhibit 3 again?
It is, I have a 3 on mine. It says up there. I'm gonna stop right here, because now, once again, you tackled him, he's gotten up, and he's walking away from you, right?
Yeah. I'm
He's
holding-
trying to walk away from you.
I'm holding on to him. He's pulling
You're
us
holding on.
across the yard.
So
yeah.
as he's walking away from you, you're about a minute, I got a minute and 4 seconds or so into this,
Into the altercation.
into the incident, correct. After you start running.
Okay.
Now, at this point in time, where you say you're exhausted,
Yeah, I really don't know how to describe it. Yeah.
I just want, exhausted by my definition means it completely or almost completely no resources, no energy. You're exhausted already.
Yeah.
Okay. Just after 1 minute, and you said, we had heard in your opening statement that we heard you were an All-American cross-country runner, but now you're an All-American sprinter.
I wasn't All-American cross country. No, I was just All-American in track.
That's why, because, well, the opening statement was All-American cross-country. That's
Yeah,
why I clarified.
I think she misspoke and said.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We all do it.
Yeah.
So, but you're an All-American track, but it was only sprints.
In sprinting events, correct.
What was your longest sprinting event?
Well, would you like me to go through
Just
what I
what's
did?
the longest one?
That I would participate in?
Yeah.
Well, the longest event that I'd participate in would be the 1500,
Okay,
but I wasn't, which is 1500 meters.
sure. But going more recently, in 2022, you were trying out for the SRT, or were you in the SRT in 2022?
I believe I was
You took a fitness test,
a
didn't you?
fitness test. Yep.
You ran a mile and a half,
Yep.
and you're like 11 minutes or something, a little over 11 minutes, I remember.
I don't recall.
But you're in the top 70% of Grand Rapids Police in fitness level for that run, weren't you?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
You did like 65 push-ups and 55 sit-ups in the allotted time, which puts you in the top 90%. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, that sounds correct.
So you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Even though we all get older, but you're in pretty good shape.
Yes.
So at that point in time, what you had done is you tackled them, right?
Yes.
Did you do a forearm strike?
I don't believe so.
Well, I'm gonna go, make sure I got the right one. Now you did a kind of a follow-up statement, correct?
Yes.
This was, it looks like May 13th. There were some additional questions from the troopers, so they had to fill out additional forms, right?
Yeah.
Answer those questions.
Oh, all of them? You want me to go through all
No,
of them?
but this is your statement from the May. You
Yeah,
recognize that.
yeah, I do. Yeah, I guess I did.
Okay.
Try to- Yeah.
That helps refresh your recollection?
It does, yeah.
So in the recollection, you said the modes of force used was a forearm strike, just one.
Yeah.
right? Knee strikes, plural, and a tackle.
Yes,
Those are the 3 uses of force you used before going to the taser.
correct.
Now, in terms of this time, one of the justifications it says, you said you're exhausted. You said you're outnumbered, right?
Yeah,
You were outnumbered when you started this, right?
I was, yes.
You knew you were outnumbered when the moment it started.
Yes,
Okay? You knew there's another person in that car.
yes,
You had no idea what was in that car,
Correct.
other than that person.
correct.
We've heard your training is unknown traffic stops, right?
Yes,
Unknown traffic stops that there could be guns in the car,
Yes,
There could be guns on the person,
they're good.
okay? And you're treating anybody that could be in an unknown traffic stop, they may have a weapon.
They may have one.
And you should treat them as such, right?
I wouldn't say you should treat them as such, because that's a little different than they may have one.
Okay.
Treating someone as though they have a firearm, it should be aware of that possibility.
Should be aware of that possibility. It's something that worries you, because you said guns was one of the big things right there, being in the car.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely what we're investigating.
And, this is something, even going back to your days of training, Exhibit 37. This is some of the,
Your Honor, could I please see that?
it's already admitted.
I don't know where it is.
Take it. You guys have shown us the document. You guys haven't shown us the document the whole time, so you've had a copy of this. This is going back to Exhibit 37, going back to recruit school.
Okay.
Okay. There's 4 scenarios on there, right?
Yes.
All 4 scenarios involve somebody with a gun, or something with a gun related to a vehicle stop, right?
Yes.
So you were aware of that sort of training when you undertook this chase, right?
Yes.
I'm going to show you now, show opposing counsel what has already been admitted as Exhibit 36. We got a copy of your training records. This is 1902, second training in 2019. You recall having this training regarding a Seattle PD officer-involved shooting after a foot chase.
I don't recall it.
You-
Off the top, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm
Sure.
sure it's been a long time.
Sure.
That's-
So it was a long time, 2020, so would you have forgotten that, where it says to allow a safe distance and have a plan while chasing an armed or potentially armed suspect?
No, yeah. I
Let's
just
see.
don't recall the training. Like, I just don't.
Would
It's
you
been-
recall that?
Oh, yes.
That's one of the things you would have known when you started chasing back in April of 2022, right?
Yes.
Going hands-on or tackling someone who is known to be armed is bad tactics, right?
Yes.
Mr. Dodge asked you questions about, is disengaging, you said, in the policies a lot, you're not supposed to disengage. Is that
Our main goal is to effect an arrest.
the main goal? But you're not prevented from disengaging if it's tactically advantaged, right?
There could be times to disengage, correct?
So that's why I want to make sure, there's no policy that says you have to remain engaged and do whatever and keep fighting. You can disengage if it would make sense and tactically remove yourself to get a better advantage, right?
Correct. I'm not, want to be clear in the sense, we're trained to stay engaged, but yes, there may be, depending on the circumstances, yeah, you may need to
Sure.
disengage.
And that's the thing, that's what we heard all over the place, depending on the facts and circumstances.
Correct.
All the facts, taking everything into account at the time.
Correct.
Gonna put exhibit 32 up on the screen. Next we go to 911. Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear, because you said something, well, there's certain things that you know, policies depend or depends on the circumstance. You have no doubt that you're under 911, paragraph 3, use of deadly force when defended against themselves, another officer, or another person, right?
Correct.
When a reasonable threat of death or serious bodily injury, that's the only time you can use deadly force.
Correct.
And you're fully aware of that at the time back in April.
Yes.
Want to go, okay? totality of the circumstances, this was the policy in effect. You were fully aware of this totality.
Yes.
Now, we've heard, one of the factors is exhaustion of the officer, injury to or exhaustion of the officer, right?
Correct.
We've heard over and over, you were exhausted,
Yes.
but you weren't injured.
No.
We had pictures, you may have a little scrape on your arm,
Correct, but not like,
didn't go to the hospital, didn't go to the med center,
correct.
so you were tired on one, but not injured on the other.
Correct.
When you look at all the other circumstances in terms of the relative size and stature, Patrick was bigger than you, right?
Yes.
There's multiple people when you started this incident, right?
Yes.
He was stronger than you because we saw in the video that he kind of picked you up when he pushed you.
Yeah.
You didn't know he had access to weapons. There's a car there. You didn't know any weapons. He could have access to weapons, right?
He could have.
You don't know.
I don't know.
But still, with all those things, you made the decision to chase him around the car.
I did, yes.
Now, one of the things he said, they kept on saying, well, resisting arrest is a felony violation, right?
I believe they talked about that.
There's your cross.
Yeah.
But simply committing a felony isn't enough to use deadly force, right?
Correct, no.
Ignoring your commands is not a reason to use deadly force.
No.
The only reason you can use deadly force is when you believe you're going to be killed or seriously injured, right?
Correct.
Now, in terms of that, you said when it comes down to the time you fired the shot, you can't even say that Patrick pointed the taser at you, can you?
No, he didn't get
He never pointed the taser at you.
No, he didn't
You
get
thought he might.
Correct. I felt as though he was turning towards me with
Yeah.
it. But, he didn't actually.
Didn't actually do it.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear. I'm going to use the taser, Exhibit 23.
Yep.
When you say, you said in your statement too, you said he was blocking the safety switch, right?
Yeah.
So red is when it's armed, and then that's when it's unarmed.
Correct.
So when he's down on the ground, his thumb was blocking it?
No, here, I'll show you.
Yeah,
So he was holding that more so like this.
like that.
And I could see the red.
You could see the red.
Yeah.
You're in this life or death struggle, and you could see the red?
I could.
You perceive that?
Yeah, I remember when I was fighting over it. I remember seeing essentially this formation where I could see the red and the switch, and that's basically all I could see at that time.
But then his hands like this.
Yeah.
His hands like this underneath him? It wasn't like this?
It may have been in the video, but there's time where this is the way I saw it.
Okay, so you agree that in the video, it looks like his hands on here like this, but you're saying it's like this.
Correct.
That's how you perceive it.
Well, yeah, there's parts where you can't see it.
But you're not arguing that Patrick knew how to operate a taser, are you?
I would say it'd be pretty simple to figure out.
So you think he was actually trying to hold that open?
To hold
the tape to make it keep it locked?
I think it's just a normal position to have your hand on it.
Okay,
I'm not saying that. Yeah.
All right. So I want to go back to that. So now you say you saw the red, so you knew that it was still active.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that. So during this incident, you actually heard Wayne Butler, the resident, come out.
I remember him coming out. Yep.
Well, you heard the resident exit the house and tell Patrick to comply with commands. That's what you put in your statement, right?
Yeah.
So you heard that. You noticed a passenger exiting the vehicle.
Correct.
You didn't hear any sirens indicating more units were on the way. You didn't hear anything. I think you testified to that, right?
Yeah.
You were aware of the first deployment of the taser because did you hear it and then you kind of saw it?
I did it.
You did?
Yeah.
So you know it's deployed.
Yeah.
Is he just gonna talk through statement?
I want to make sure I'm clear on what he said.
Okay, so if you can approach,
Okay, I think we left off. You're aware of the first taser deployment.
Yes.
Now you say you're aware he was holding his thumb. You saw the red. You were able to see the red on the taser when he was holding it underneath him.
Yes.
Even at that late stage, you're aware the passenger was outside the car yelling at him.
From the video.
From the video?
Correct. At that point in time, I was just focused on.
Okay, gonna go back to your written statement.
Yeah.
This is, well, you said
No,
from
no,
the
no.
video.
I did. Yes. If I can explain.
So you're.
I used the video to write the statement. Is what I'm saying.
So then what you wrote isn't exactly accurate? So you're basing some of the stuff you wrote on after watching the video and you didn't really remember that is what you're saying now?
I would say I was more focused on.
Because you're clearly right, you heard the passenger in your statement. But now you're saying
Yeah, no. I know you came out earlier. I think what you're discussing is later.
But then you're aware you couldn't hear the sirens coming to help even at that late stage.
No.
You're aware of that, for sure.
I couldn't hear sirens.
And even at the time, when you took time to fire that fatal shot, you were aware of the background. I took a look to make sure the background was clear.
I wrote it like a police report. Yeah.
But, you wrote like a police report, but
Yeah. Going in that direction. Yeah. To imply that. Yeah.
so one of the things you can't train, you're not supposed to shoot if there's people around, you may hit somebody else. So you
Correct. Yep.
Before you had time, you were focused, you knew that you could fire that shot because there's nobody there because you're basically looking at the ground, right?
It was going to be in a safe direction. Yeah.
At no point in time was Patrick ever on top of you.
No.
At no point in time, once again, he never said he was going to kill you, right?
No.
Never said he was going to hit you.
No.
Never said he was going to kick your butt or do anything bad to you.
Not that I recall. No.
This entire incident, he was trying to get away from you.
Up until the end.
When you were on top of him, right?
I was on top of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he was trying to push himself up,
Yes.
and you thought he was going to turn the taser on.
That's what I believed. Yes.
That's what you believed.
Yes.
But even the taser's not going to kill you, right?
My impression is that it can cause death or serious bodily injury.
Okay. It's going to cause death. You were tased, right?
Yes.
You're still here talking to us.
Yes.
You watch people in the recruit class get tased. They all survived. In fact, there's, nobody even got hurt, right? You didn't get hurt.
I didn't.
They didn't get hurt.
No.
So it's one of those things, it's always possible, but in your experience, you've never known anybody to be killed by a taser.
I don't have personal experience with someone getting killed by a taser.
Do you have any personal experience that you've been working for Grand Rapids Police for 7 years?
Mhm.
Any time where a police officer was seriously injured by a taser?
Not that I'm aware of.
No police officers in Grand Rapids Police were ever killed by a taser.
Not that I'm aware of.
Once again, though, in your written statement, you didn't say you were afraid of getting shot by the taser. Didn't you tell in your written statement that you were afraid you were going to get tased and then he was going to go after your gun?
I would say I don't remember what it's in the written statement, but
You can take a look
Yeah.
at it.
So, what is your question
The
exactly?
question was, is that your feeling, when you wrote this, you didn't say you thought the taser was going to kill you, you thought you were going to be incapacitated, and then he was going to grab your gun, right?
I think in the written statement, I think I said that it can cause serious bodily injury or death, just the taser, the use of it by itself, but the other part of it is, yeah, it would gain him access to my firearm.
That was your main concern, he was going to access your firearm, right?
I would say both are my concern. I don't know, in that situation, I don't know where it's going to get deployed. If it's deployed in a sensitive area, yeah,
At
it
no
could
point in
cause.
time did he ever go for your gun, did he?
No,
He never put his hand on your gun,
not that I recall.
he never touched your gun.
Not that I recall.
Not that you recall, like, it seems like you would. You watched the video,
Yeah,
you did a written statement.
yeah. No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying.
That never happened. So the only reason he did it is because he grabbed your taser.
No,
He had
because
control of your taser.
I shot him because I believed he was going to use it on me.
Because he had your taser.
Because I
That's the
was
only thing you did.
afraid that he was going to use it on
But
me.
that's the only thing he did with it. He had possession of it. He never pointed at you?
He started to turn up towards me, and I felt if I didn't respond at that time, I wouldn't be here.
Sure. And he's not here, is he?
No, he's not.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Dodge, you need direct?
Please. I think it was, the question was asked.
That Mr. Lyoya never said he was going to hurt you with the, all throughout, correct?
I believe that was a question.
Yes, and did he ever say he was going to hurt you?
I don't recall really, in the struggle, I don't recall anything. He said, I know he said things, but I don't remember what was said exactly.
But did he fight with you for almost 3 minutes?
Yeah,
Is that abnormal in your experience in police work?
yes.
What is that often indicative of?
Typically that person's trying to escape from some greater crime. That's my impression.
And Mr. Lyoya fought with you for 3 minutes, almost 3 minutes. And did he fight for possession of your taser?
Yes.
Is that, I think the prosecutor asked about something that was mentioned in your statement about, you wrote in your statement, Mr. Lyoya put his hand on the taser and pushed it away so the probes wouldn't hit him or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Was that your reference very early on in the struggle?
Yeah.
But at some point, it went from pushing to pulling, correct?
Correct.
To the point that exclusive control by Mr. Lyoya of the taser, correct?
Correct.
This mention of a statement. Chris, is it fair to say after this episode, and even over a few years, this has been a pretty traumatic experience?
Yes.
And with no disrespect to the Lyoya family either, because obviously it's difficult for them too, but for you as well.
Yes.
And have you needed a considerable amount of assistance with your trauma?
I guess I'm going to have to object. What's the relevance?
I'm asking him as far as what his memory is now that he's being confronted with 3 years later.
I'll overrule it for now.
Has this been difficult?
Yes.
Has your memory been, has it been difficult as far as putting it out of your head, having it back in your head, having this video thrown into the equation?
I would say so, yeah.
But back at the time of this statement, there was a lot going on prior to that statement. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say.
And did you want to be cooperative with the state police?
I did.
And you're a police officer, you're used to writing a police report, correct?
Correct.
And based on everything going on, Was it important to take a look at your video to try to make as thorough of an explanation as you could of what had taken place?
Yes.
So you did view the video just like the rest of the public viewed the video, correct?
Yes.
And you put together and tried to explain things as best as you can. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say.
So when you're confronted with, well, you said you used a forearm, but you never said, now you don't remember using a forearm. Do you remember every detail of what happened or what might be on that video?
I don't. No.
Is that how your mind's working on this?
Yeah.
We talked about sprints and workouts. Is a physical fight different than sprints or going to the gym or even college athletics 12 years earlier, 10 years earlier?
Yeah, they're significantly different.
And really, people don't know that until they've been in that type of physical combat situation.
Correct.
And did it feel different on this occasion now that you're fighting over a live weapon?
I'd say so.
As far as disengaging, generally your training, I believe it's laid out in several of the materials, are you trained to go all out to try to apprehend persons?
Yes.
And if you're not able to move it up to some other level of force if it's reasonable. Is that right?
That's correct.
And here, did you move up to a taser when nothing else was working?
Yes.
And you had done that in the past, correct?
Correct.
And it was effective?
Correct.
This topic of, were you afraid he was gonna tase you and get at your duty belt and kill you, or direct the probes or drive stun in a location? Were you trained in either manner? Were you warned in either manner to be fearful of something like that?
Yes.
And is that coming right from the manufacturer?
I believe so.
And is
Yes.
that coming right from general training to police officers on the realities of what can happen if somebody gets your taser and uses it on you?
Yes.
So in your mind, you're just going off of what you're trained.
You don't have to object, he's leading, he's been leading the whole time, I'm trying to give him some leeway.
I can rephrase. In your mind, are you going off of what you've been trained on the device and what may happen if somebody takes the device from you?
Yes.
Had Mr. Lyoya been able to get up on several prior occasions already, and had he been turning towards you?
Yes.
And at the final moment here, what was different? What did he have that was now different?
He had a dangerous weapon.
I could just have one moment here.
No more questions.
So we'll follow up with that. He turned towards you on at least 2 occasions, right? At the door, the initial stop, right? You went to put his hands on you. You put his hands on him, right?
I did.
Okay, he put his hands on you, and he spun and turned, right?
Correct.
He was facing you.
Yep.
Didn't throw a punch.
Yeah, I just slap my hand off.
Slap
yeah,
your hand.
Yeah, not yeah.
Get away.
Yep.
That's what he did. Slap your hand, get away.
Correct.
So the other time, so then he fell down, or not fell down, you tackled him down,
Yes.
picked him up, or he got up and walking with you on his back away.
Well, he was able to get up after I tackled him. There's some up down there, but eventually we get to that
So
point.
that was
We get to that point you're discussing.
Sure.
Yes.
But that was the only time he got up in this incident, really, right? After being
no,
knocked out.
What I just described.
Yeah.
The couple. Yep.
The one time he got up. That was the one time he got up.
No, he got up once, and then he got up again, and that's where we're up to what you're talking about. Unless you're just calling the one time before.
The tackle.
Tackle. Then he
He
got up.
He pushed himself up.
Yep.
So you're walking away. You're holding on to him.
No.
Oh, that's okay.
I tackled him.
We'll
He
go
got
to
it.
How about we'll go to the
Yeah.
video, so we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Which one are you going
It's
to?
going to Exhibit 3, Your Honor. Can we get it right a little closer to 216 in? Try this out.
No, no, no. Stop. Stop. Put your hands up. Stop.
So it's in number 1, that's what we're talking about. Turned away. Spun around, turned away.
Okay.
Got
Yep.
it?
Yep. Yeah. No, I'm there.
Didn't punch you, didn't kick you, didn't do anything. Just spun,
Correct.
gave you a little shove.
Correct. Yep.
1915. Got one on it. 4-5. Stop.
You know, speed it ahead a little bit.
Hey.
So
Stop. 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 Get your hands behind your back. Hands behind your back. Turn your hands behind your back. $19.50. Second floor card.
Okay, so now he stood up now, right?
yes.
He stood up, you're on his back.
Yes. I think what you're asking me was what I was trying to. I guess maybe I didn't understand the question.
That's fine. This is-
But he had gotten up before that, is what I'm saying.
He didn't get all the way up. He started to push his way up, right? When did he? Let's go to the.
You might need a different camera
Yep.
angle,
We'll
because
need a
sometimes when you're at different angles, it.
You're chasing him here. This is now Exhibit 2. Tackle. So that's where you're talking about he gets up there?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
what I'm
he gets
saying.
up there.
Yeah, that's.
All right, fair enough.
Yep.
But once again, he gets up there, he didn't swing at you, didn't kick you.
Correct.
anything there.
Yes.
I'm going to go. You can catch it here, so let's move back. So now here, you're standing up, and this is the other time he turns towards you, right?
Yeah.
So he
Yes.
turns towards you then. Once again, he doesn't hit you,
Correct. No.
doesn't kick you,
No.
doesn't throw an elbow at you,
No.
doesn't try and headbutt you.
No.
He spins around, and nothing happened. He doesn't get beat. He's not aggressive at all.
I wouldn't say it's still aggressive manner. His fists are clenched. It would be perceived as we're trained as active aggression. That's
It's active aggression at this point.
yeah. Which but he didn't throw what I would constitute as and what you're saying as a punch or a strike or something of that
At
nature.
this point in time, he grabs the taser and moves it away by your own statement. He moves away so he doesn't get tased.
Yes.
I have nothing further.
But he may have actually been able to get up at least a few times. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say.
going to the moment where you ultimately used deadly force here. This individual had fought with you, follow up to this, for approximately, did he fight with you for almost 3 minutes?
I don't remember. Yeah, somewhere around that time frame.
And I believe you've discussed already, why do individuals normally fight police to avoid capture this long?
My perception is there's got to be something pretty significant they don't want to be arrested for.
Did you know what that was at that time?
No.
Now, he got up on the other occasions and did not appear to at least strike you, is that right?
Yeah, not correct.
But on this final moment where he's getting up,
Yeah.
is that different? Is this time different?
Yeah, in my mind, it's an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. At that point, it's not, I'm not afforded the opportunity to wait and see what he does with it, to see what happens to me. I'm not given that opportunity.
Because do you know what his intentions are at that time?
I don't.
Do you know why he's fought that hard with you to avoid arrest?
I don't.
Do you know why he would fight that hard to take full control of a dangerous weapon?
I don't.
And as he's turning towards you, would you be expected to wait and see? I'm going to wait and see what he does with it.
I wasn't trained to do that.
No further questions.
No, Your Honor.
Hands on the knees, individuals' questions. First, is the safety on the taser an on-off switch, or does it need to be held in the on position?
Good question. It's called a safety switch. It's an on-off. It's like a light switch. So it was on. I switched it on. It actually is some tension. I don't know the amount of weight to turn it on or off, but once it's on, it's on. It takes actual decent amount of physical pressure to shut it off.
And next, does writing a statement or a police report require you to write in the moment of the incident or for accuracy of what happened?
I think I get what.
Is right in the moment.
Yeah, I would. All right, if I answer that, I think I know what they're. If I understand the question correctly, I feel like there's I guess what I've been trained to do, there's kind of a difference in some part of it you're using the video, and then parts they have you just kind of go more or less off your memory for different various portions.
And the next question, in the beginning of the video, when the subject assaulted you prior to running away, at that time, is it okay within GRPD policy to use a taser prior to the tackle or in place of the tackle?
So that's kind of a loaded. To answer that, the strike could potentially justify under GRPD policy the use of the taser. However, using it on a subject that's running away, causing them to lock up and fall, especially around concrete vehicles, they hit their head, they could die using it or applying it in that manner, if that answers that question. So typically we're not trained to use it on someone who's running.
Well, the question asked about prior to running away, so is your
Oh, prior-
response that
well-
you were on concrete, so.
Well, I think he starts to run at that point. So
Well, the
I
question
think-
is prior, in the beginning, when the subject assaulted you prior to running away, at that time, is it okay?
Oh, prior to running, actually physically running. I would say yes, but the amount of time it takes me to get my radio out, he's already running at that point. So then we're in that same situation that I was discussing, if that makes sense. I think it would be petty to deploy a taser for what he did. That, for me, that's my opinion, based on just that information.
And next, did you feel at any time prior to you presenting and deploying your taser that the subject was trying to grab or obtain the taser or any other weapons on your belt?
Was the question prior to?
Did you feel at any time prior to you presenting and deploying your taser, the subject was trying to grab or obtain the taser or any other weapons on your belt?
Prior to deploying the taser, I didn't feel as though he was trying to grab any weapons.
Next, do you recall being able to smell alcohol on Mr. Lyoya during your first interactions?
No.
Next, when you say you saw the taser being held as a handgun by Lyoya, did you prioritize attempting to press on the safety or to turn the safety off or to remove the taser?
The entire goal was to get the taser back. I couldn't get it back. The only thing I could potentially get my fingertips on was the safety at that point.
I know I asked about alcohol during your first interaction, but at any point did you notice he was under the influence?
I didn't smell it or notice it in those moments. Based on his actions, I would believe it, but I wouldn't just say because of him not responding to some of the tactics automatically means that he was under the influence. So I guess the answer is no.
Next, when you write a statement or a police report, what is the process?
Depends on the report. If it's a more involved report, we'll review video as much as we can and then type it. And it might go back and forth.
Do you require running through new scenarios each time a new model taser is introduced?
You definitely do different you do scenarios when you get a new taser, for sure. However, when it might be the same scenario, when we switched to the new model, the bigger thing was the effectiveness at close range because of the design of the cartridges itself. So, and we didn't have to worry, the way the cartridges were designed were better for close. We didn't have to. I don't want to get into the actual design because I can't remember the original taser. I hardly remember the one that I used in this, but the big thing was it was more effective at close range and to train to use it in that manner.
Next is, why do you shoot Mr. Lyoya in the head?
I wouldn't say that I was necessarily aiming per se. I only had essentially a viewpoint of his upper back and head area. I deployed my handgun and fired it in that direction. It ended up striking his head.
Mr. Dodge, did you have any follow-up questions from any of those?
I do not, Your Honor.
Mr. Becker, how about you?
I'm done, Your Honor.